Chapter 9 Professor Allrat Spitfer. In the airport, I read Grandfather William's instructions again. I had to interview Professor Allrat Spitfer. He had invented a new way to create energy. I wonder what it could be. I loved hearing about scientific discoveries. Then I could write about them in my paper. I was getting into a taxi when my cell phone rang. "Hello, this is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton," I answered. Grandfather's voice blew out my eardrum. "Rotting rat's teeth!" he shrieked. "Did you not hear one word I said, grandson? Am I talking just to hear my own voice? Doesn't anyone listen anymore? If a tree fell in front and no one was around, would it make a sound?" I stared at the phone. I had no idea what my grandfather was babbling about. "You're on a budget," he squeaked at last. "Forget the taxi, grandson. Hire a camel, and don't forget to ask for a discount." I haggled with a camel driver. Then I climbed in between the camel's humps. One thing you should know about riding a camel, it's just like being on a boat. I was soon seasick. Yes, I, Geronimo Stilton, got seasick on dry land. Oh, what a day! I reached the laboratory an hour later. By that time, I looked like a tired lump of moldy green cheese. The lab was a concrete building sitting in the middle of the desert. I lurched up to the steps and rang the doorbell. And that's when it hit me. The most horrible smell you could ever imagine. I held my breath. It was unbelievable. By the time the door opened, I was turning blue. A funny-looking rodent with red fur and thick glasses peered out at me. He wore a white lab coat and had a clothespin on his nose. "Hey there, I'm Professor Allrat Spitfer," he squeaked warmly. He had to keep gasping for air because of the clothespin. "You must be Geronimo Stilton. I received a phone call from your grandfather William Shortpaws, also known as Cheap Mouse Willie. He must be some mouse." "Yes, I am Geronimo Stilton, and you're right, my grandfather is some mouse, I guess. Some kind of crazy, wacko, infuriating mouse," I added under my breath. The professor pulled a clothespin out of his pocket. "You might want to wear this," he advised. "Now come along, I'll show you around the laboratory." I realized the stench was getting stronger and stronger. I quickly stuck the clothespin on my nose. Professor Spitfer led me into a stable. It was where they bred hundreds of camels. You wouldn't believe the stink. Professor Spitfer began to explain about the incredible discovery. "You do know about the formula for supersonic, supersensitive, super-duper magnetic force, don't you?" he asked. As he spoke, I had to keep hopping back and forth. It turns out the professor wore dentures. Every time he opened his mouth, streams of rat spit shot out at me. I know I needed a shower after my flight, but this was ridiculous. Oh, what a day. Chapter 10 Inside the stable, the camels looked harmless enough. They stood peacefully together, making strange gurgling sounds. I pulled out my notebook and began taking notes. Meek, mild creatures. Sound like they are blowing bubbles under water. I approached one to get a closer look. "Be careful," the professor quickly warned me. "Never look a camel straight in the eye. They love to spit, and they're wonderful shots." I immediately jumped back. But it was too late. The camel whipped his snout around toward me and spit. He let me right in the eye. "Yuck!" I groaned, wiping my eye with my paw. It was bad enough I had to dodge the professor's spit. Now I had to worry about the camel's spit too. "See? I told ya," spluttered the professor, shaking his head. I decided to stay away from the camel's snout. I snuck behind the second camel. This one didn't spit on me. Instead, he kicked me right in the tail. Crying out in pain, I took a step backward, right into a pile of camel dung. I slipped on the dung, did a triple somersault, and bruised my snout when I hit the ground. Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day, what a day. Okay, boys and girls, so those are the chapters that have to be read. Okay, so you had chapters 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The chapters are here in the folder for you. What you need to do is go into the workbook section, and you are going to have to complete now chapter 6, 7, 8, and 9 questions. You do not have to do chapter 10. Again, you do not have to do chapter 10. So chapter 6 is here. Again, you look for the words in the chapters, write the page number, and draw a little picture of what you think it's talking about. On chapter 6, the question is, this chapter gives a lot of details about what the plane is like and the problem that Geronimo is facing. Visualize what the plane must look like using evidence from the story and draw a picture below. So you can take a look at what the picture of the plane looks like, but maybe you want to add more detail from how Geronimo had explained it. So you can draw your own plane there. Chapter 7, again, boys and girls, you look for the words, you find the page number, and you draw me a little picture. Character trait. I want you to describe Daniel E. Deadfer. Remember, character traits are a description of what the character is like. So, for example, we had always said that Miss Vitale is kind and is funny. How can we define Daniel E. Deadfer? You're going to put it in the character trait boxes, and then you have to give me evidence of the words that you used. Okay. Finally, chapter 8 here. Again, the words, the page number, and then afterwards you have to do the same thing about the character's feelings. Okay, you have to give me a page number, and you have to describe what Geronimo Stilton is feeling on a selective page, and then you have to give me evidence. Okay, remember, feelings are like sad, scared, and if you find a section in this chapter and that Geronimo is feeling sad, then you write the page number. You write the word sad, and then you give me evidence of how he's feeling sad. Or perhaps it's scared, so you give me the page number, you write the word scared, and then you give me evidence as to how he is scared. The final chapter questions that you have to complete are the chapter 9 ones. The words again are there. You give me the page number, you draw me a little picture, and here are the questions to complete. So, predictions. Why do you think Professor Allwright Spitfer is breeding camels? So the word prediction means, what do you think is going to happen next? So why do you think Professor Allwright Spitfer has so many camels? What do you think he's going to do with these camels? Number 2, why do you think it smells so bad? Number 3, what do you think will happen next? And try to use maybe some clues in the chapter as to what it would tell you as to what would happen next. Okay, so this is the final page that you have to do in terms of questions. We did read chapter 10, but you do not need to do the chapter 10 questions. Okay, boys and girls? So that's all the work that has to be done for Geronimo. Have fun!